Hi, good morning or good afternoon. I'm Sachiya Inagaki from Yana Research Institute. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me to this seminar, but I'm really sorry that I'm not able to participate in person today due to COVID. I hope to attend the next time and communicate with you in person. Today, I'd like to talk about LRB strategies in the age of EVs. The themes of this seminar are growth, visibility, and diversity. Today, with this background, I'd like to discuss two scenarios. First, whether the EV market will continue to grow steadily, or whether it will be affected by COVID and slow down. And I also would like to briefly discuss the direction of development of LIB and LIB component as the EV market grows and diversifies. This is a broad introduction of our company and myself, so please take a look at this later when you have a time. First of all, we have drawn up two scenarios for HEV market. One is policy-based and the other one is market-based. I'd like to talk about these two scenarios taking into account the impact of the corona. The first is a scenario when xEVs are steadily expanding in a policy-based stream. Probably many people want this scenario. The policy base, in other words, is an OEM's target base, which is a market if the OEMs plan to sell xEVs in order to meet the policy. And this is the market if they achieve this as planned. The current xEV market, as you can see here, is made up of emission standards that are getting stricter every year and the various subsidies and tax benefits that come with it. In recent years, there has been a strong trend toward ESG and SDGs in corporate governance and investment. If you are aware of investors and the stock market, and if you want to raise the capital needed to run your business, it is in your best interest to move forward with EVs. In fact, China's policy has created a market for EVs, and in Europe, the momentum to create an EV value chain in Europe is building, with a lot of money being invested and a lot of companies entering the market. These developments have been compounded by COVID. In order to restore the economies damaged by COVID, many of the economic stimulus packages are prioritizing eco-friendly industries such as EVs and the green recovery policy in Europe, for example. The policy-driven market has been further strengthened by COVID. People's attitude towards the environment has also changed in the wake of the COVID. People are tending to prefer safer and more reliable products, even if they are a little more inconvenient and expensive, and demand for zero-emission EVs is increasing as a result of this trend. I think the current trend towards xEVs has been accelerated by COVID, and COVID is expected to have a positive impact on xEVs. The other side is market-based. This one may be rephrased as the challenges of EVs equal to the challenges of batteries, but we are looking at the reality. I think it can be said that EVs are not yet a product of user needs. Something have been partially solved, but the initial price, charging infrastructure, charging time, electric range, and used car prices, these cannot be merited compared with existing ICE. These are challenges to rapid growth in a short period of time. If it's policy-driven rather than user needs, it will stagnate once government involvement ends, and the example of the Chinese market shows. It will also take a huge financial burden to keep it going. This is compounded by COVID. The entire economy is shrinking. Can we afford to buy a car while salaries are being cut or jobs are being lost? As business profits declines and corporate taxes fall, the country's finances will suffer. So, can the government continue to fund EVs? I think it's very difficult. What I see in the news these days is that car companies are seeing sluggish sales and are cutting their staff and putting their resources into developing EVs. I know this is inevitable due to the environmental regulations, but I'm wondering if people who have lost their jobs can afford an EV. The scenario is that EVs themselves are not yet a product that users need, and it's difficult to draw a picture of continued growth for EVs alone as the economy as a whole shrinks due to COVID. Next, I'd like to introduce the market size trends we have calculated based on these circumstances. As you can see, in 2019, the market size of XEV is 6.82 million units, and for EVs and PHEVs only 2.53 million units, which is only 2.7% of the total market. This year, the market will grow to 3 million EVs and PHEVs if policy is correct, and will shrink slightly to 2.33 million on the market basis, reaching 16.5 million and 4.3 million in 2025, and 31 million and 8.4 million in 2030, respectively. Now, I'd like to take a more detailed look at the policy base. When I look at the number of XEVs, HEVs, and medium-capacity EVs is where the focus is. The market for HEVs grew more than expected in 2019. I believe that HEVs are once again being re-evaluated as a product that offers good fuel economy, is as easy to use as existing ICEs, and can be sold without subsidies or policy support. Looking ahead, I expect that the number of HEVs will continue to increase steadily in terms of volume, with HEVs accounting for around 40% of the policy base. The reason for this is to reduce the average emission level in order to comply with environmental regulations. It's difficult to meet the regulations with only EVs and PHEVs. The total abolition of ICE is still some time away, and hybrids can be sold until then. And within the next few years, stronger hybrids are expected to be sold mainly by European automakers. I don't have all the details yet, but from what I've heard, it's an evolution of the 48-volt, which is different from the systems used in Toyota and other automakers. So we expect steady growth in hybrids. Next is the medium capacity EVs. We define 40 kilowatt-hour to 69 kilowatt-hour as the medium capacity range. And Tesla's Model 3 is a hot seller. Volkswagen's ID3 is also in this capacity range. High capacity range is a segment that offers the most appeal as an EV and as a car, but it's expensive, so sales volume is limited. In the low capacity segment, the low price is attractive, but it's difficult to make the car attractive. So I believe that the market will have to be limited. Under these circumstances, the medium capacity segment led by Tesla's Model 3 and Volkswagen's ID3 is expected to take center stage on a volume base. Demand for set-to-pack packaging and low energy density but inexpensive long-life cells is beginning to emerge. The competitive axis of EVs is shifting from the electric driving range to durability and longevity, and these are becoming another value. In this context, demand for EVs with different values is expected to grow in the medium capacity segment, and this segment is expected to become the main segment for EVs. Opinions on PHEVs are divided. Some see it as a transitional product and the EV demand is full swing, while others argue that realistically, EVs are inadequate and PHEVs are realistic. To be honest, it's difficult for me to forecast the future of PHEVs, and I make projections based on each company's production and sales target. Going forward, we may not see a significant impact in terms of volume, but we are looking at the growth of commercial vehicles. The market for EV buses in China has matured, but they have not been electrified outside of China. If the logistics vehicles in each country are electrified, it will be a good sight. The conversion of US pickup trucks to electric-powered vehicles is also expected to happen. The commercial EV has good business prospects, and demand for electric vehicles is expected to grow in the future as companies become more environmentally conscious in their business operations. On a policy basis, the commercial EV market will reach 1.6 million units by 2030, with more than half of all commercial vehicles likely to be electrified. So this is how we forecast the EV market. Next, here is LIB market size calculated based on the number of xEVs. In total, the market size was 133 gigawatt hour in 2019. If the market continues to grow steadily, it will be 161 gigawatt hour in 2020 and 881 gigawatt hour in 2025 and 1,720 gigawatt hour in 2030. Although the market is much smaller in terms of market size, the growth rate of the market is still very significant, as you can see. This slide shows a breakdown of the market for each type of xEV as shown on the next slide. This slide. Looking at the market for LIBs and related components, the market for EV is expected to be the largest in terms of volume and potential. I won't explain about the background of these factors as they overlap with the background of the forecast market for xEVs that I mentioned earlier. Next, I'd like to take a look at the types of cells and components that will be in demand as the EV market becomes more diverse. Before that, I can't talk about the details today due to time constraints, but I'd like to say a few words about the business potential. What I would like you to consider is profit. Regardless of the rate of growth, the market will certainly grow, but what about profits? EVs have a high battery cost ratio, and the profit margins for EVs are quite low. We have heard that some models are in the red, and the same goes for EV batteries. Even so, car body prices are still high, and there is demand for price reductions. The high cost of components makes it difficult for economies of scale to work for batteries, and the high metal content of components makes them easily influenced by market conditions. As a result, the market is unable to break free from policy and subsidy dependence, and self-sustaining growth will take time. The market size is certainly large and expectations are high, but it also requires a significant investment. So we think we need to take a more sober look at the opportunities, risks, and benefits to be gained. Then, let's look at the R&D trend of LIB and its material. The trend toward higher capacity batteries is expected to continue because of the advantage of longer electric drive distance, lower prices per unit of capacity, and smaller sizes. Although handling high-capacity materials makes it necessary to deal with safety issues and raises costs, the benefit of higher capacity batteries may include a reduction in the number of times they need to be recharged and the reduction in the need for cycle characteristics. To respond to this movement, for cathode materials, it seems that NCM and NCA will continue to be oriented toward high nickel. 62 is already common, and nickel content ratios are expected to be 70%, 80%, and a maximum of 90% in the future. NCA has already achieved 90% or more in the cylindrical type, but in the future, the adoption of NCA in the prismatic type. Although the use of silicon-based anodes such as SiC and SiO expected to be adapted for the anode, the adoption is still limited to a few percent of the cylindrical type, that is less than 5%. The problems of expansion and contraction have not been solved, and the cycle life and life characteristics are not good Even if they were to be used, they are expensive and not very cost-effective in improving capacity. For automotive application, therefore, artificial or natural graphite is used in various blends depending on customer requirements. It is unlikely that there will be a significant increase in the use of silicon-based anode materials in the short term. A wet coating separator is used for large capacity cells. The film thickness of the base film is about 10 micron, and the coating layer is about 2 to 3 micron. Whether the coating is applied on a single surface or both sides depends on the customer's needs, and there is no general trend. Thinner coating was one of the trends to improve cell capacity. However, in response to a fire accident in a consumer product, excessive thinning has not been the trend in recent years. A hybrid PVDF ceramic coating is the most common coating for maintaining battery characteristics and preventing dendrites and short circuits. The coating pattern varies according to the battery characteristic, and there are no general characteristics, but complex shapes that lead to cost increase are avoided. Regarding base films materials, PI and other materials with high heat resistance temperatures are under consideration, but they are expensive and have not yet been put to practical use. Non-woven fabrics have also been used in special batteries. As to electrolyte and salt, the basic combination of solvent and salt is fixed, and currently from the viewpoint of performance and cost, there are few cases where other materials are mainly used. For salt, LiFSI received a great deal of attention for a while, but because due to cost is too high, LFI used in a limited application and also regions. So although various additives have been developed and adapted, information is generally not disclosed because additives are the know-how that determines the performance of the battery. As the market for xEVs continues to expand, the biggest challenges of recent years have been the increasing demand for cost. There are two ways to reduce cost. First, by simply lowering the price, and the second, by making the product last longer, thereby lowering the total cost, which means lowering the price of the materials themselves and increasing durability. These requirements are beginning to be met in EVs in some parts of the low and medium capacities, as well as in commercial applications, and LIBs and material development will require a different vector from high energy density material. As an example, for commercial vehicles and commercial applications, it looks like this. For example, in the case of commercial vehicles, it's easy to install batteries and charging infrastructure because the driving cost and mileage are fixed to some extent. In this case, the charge and cycle characteristics are more important than the battery capacity. Taxis, rental cars, sharing cars, and company cars rarely travel long distance or go to different areas in a day. As a result, the cycle life and charge characteristics of these EVs are more important than their capacity. And if the initial investment can be recovered in a few years or so through a comparison of total cost, including fuel cost and maintenance cost, the conversion to EVs for commercial vehicles will be easier in comparison. LFPs, general purpose NCMs, and in some cases LMO may be used as carbon materials. For the anode materials, natural graphite and LTO are suitable. The electrolyte may not require high-price additives. Even a dry separator with no coating would be sufficient for the separator. We believe that the combination of these materials could produce LID relatively cheaply at present. Although there are still some issues to be resolved in these products before they can be used for automotive applications, I believe that the development vector of higher quality component is also essential for the spread of EVs. So I have talked about the direction of the EV market and the growth, feasibility, and diversity within it. The EV market is expected to grow steadily. However, there are still a number of issues to overcome, and even if it does grow, I doubt that it will be able to generate sufficient profit. And I also difficult to believe that either the government or the private company will have the funds to support it. For this reason, I believe that if we are truly aiming for a sustainable society, we should consider a sustainable EV society that is both economically and environmentally compatible. That's all for today, and due to the time difference, I will not able to participate in the question and answer session that follows. But my email address is here, and you can also search me on LinkedIn. So as you have any questions, please send them to me at any time. Thank you for your kind attention.